played it. It's like they wanted to play it safe, but because of doing that, it's just boring. It's kind of dull.
Yeah.
And Shang Tsung, I like that actor who plays him normally, but he is so fucking dull in this. And when you're going up against the guy from '95 who just delivers every line with such exaggeration, all his facial muscles are working at the same time. It's just like you can't deliver the famous line like "You will die." You can't do it like "You will die." You just can't do it. It's ridiculous. Everyone knows that Shang Tsung's performance from '95 that's watching this movie, and I just don't think that you should be delivering it in this very cold manner. It was very dull, and it needed more life.
Well, yeah, and you know what was the weirdest thing? Because we're gonna wrap it up. We're going too long on Mortal Kombat here, but
very
the
passionate.
one thing that frustrated me at the end of the film, because I thought that the fight was actually very cool, which was Scorpion versus Sub-Zero. When it goes back to the opening sequence and it has this sort of ancient rivalry between these two, it does make you wonder why Scorpion wasn't the character.
Yeah, he just comes back at the end randomly.
Yeah, he just comes back at the end to protect this new guy who is the character, that
ancestor, I guess.
He's his ancient ancestor of some sort, etc. He comes back to protect him from Sub-Zero, and they have they have some of the better choreography, I think, in the movie where he turns his blood into an icicle and stabs him with it and shit like that.
And those are moves straight from the game, which is cool too.
Yeah, that stuff's cool, and I think because Sub-Zero and Scorpion are both, at that point, they both have their fantastical powers, and they're using them against each other, that stuff I think works. And I think those two actors, I think, are two of the best martial artists that they just hired for the film.
Killer.
So watching those two go at it, that stuff is kind of what you really hoped from the film, but it only accentuated how useless the main guy was.
I know, because the whole time, dude, it's so funny, the whole time that they're doing this awesome, and this pissed me off so fucking much. And it's a cut that I actually remember, and it shouldn't even be memorable. But so what happens is Scorpion and Sub-Zero are setting themselves up, right? Scorpion's fucking talking in Japanese, and he's like, "I have risen from hell to destroy you," and they're just talking crazy shit, and they're doing these close-ups of their eyes. Sub-Zero has these icicle eyes. Scorpion's got the yellow eyes and shit, and they're forming their weapons. Sub-Zero makes his sword out of ice, and it's just great. It's a really cool setup. And then right before they're about to run at each other, it cuts to fucking that lead guy just punching ice to try to free his family, and it ruins the momentum so bad. And I'm like, stop cutting to this guy. Stop cutting away from the fights. What are you doing? Stop. And yeah, that drove me fucking crazy, man.
Well, and that's what's so funny is that that is them telling you the stakes of this scene are this guy protecting his family, but you don't fucking feel them. You don't give a shit
I just
about
watch
any
Scorpion
of the character stuff that
fight.
they set up at all, man. Yeah, but that's what's so funny. That is so indicative. That moment, I think, is so indicative of the overall mistake that they made.
Yeah.
Which was that we're going to tell this very grounded character fantasy superhero origin story about this random guy that nobody who even plays the games knows.
Yeah. Because he's not a character.
and he's just gonna watch the crazy shit happen around him, and that was their idea for what this movie was gonna be. Instead of, once again, just doing Enter the Dragon with crazy fucking characters.
Yeah, and fatalities. That's all you needed to do. And why is he fighting Goro? You give the new guy the most powerful character in all of Mortal Kombat to fight and kill in 10 minutes. I don't know why they did certain matchups the way they did too. It's just there's some strange decisions, but I will say that when the sequel comes out, I will be watching it because I want to see if they can do.
At least then, at the end of the film, they do the big franchise bait of I'm going to go to Hollywood and go get Johnny Cage,
who should have been the star in the first place.
Yes, and there's going to be an actual tournament. Because now that they fended off the guy who was trying to wipe them, his whole plot was to literally kill all of the champions before the tournament so that they literally just couldn't fight in the tournament.
Yeah.
And that was literally what all he was trying to do.
And then it implies that they're all coming back, which is strange. Because it says something like death in this universe isn't the end or something like that, which essentially is just the comic book way of saying, don't worry guys, all these characters will be back, you'll get to see Goro fight another guy.
Yeah,
and you're like, Okay, sure.
All right.
Whatever.
Cue the modern dance club remix of the Mortal Kombat theme, which is like the only time you really they interweave it a couple times into the score,
but barely,
but very minimally,
and they needed it
very minimally.
Well, one, I will say it's not nearly as good as the original. That granted, but I did listen to it. The production of it really well done. I mean, the guy's very talented. But yeah, whoever was in charge of like incorporating the music into the story definitely needed to take notes from the '95 vibes, because I needed more techno in those.
I will never forget.